I woke up gasping for air. My chest felt like it was being crushed, my arms flailing helplessly. On top of me, my stepmother, Madame Veronica, was kneeling, her eyes filled with rage and desperation. She pressed a white pillow against my face and neck, trying to smother me while I struggled to push it away. Every second felt like a lifetime. "Stop, Ma, please," I yelled, panic rising in my throat. My hands clawed at the pillow, trying to pull it off, but her grip was relentless. I could feel my vision blur, the room spinning, my heartbeat pounding like a war drum. And then something strange happened. Just as I thought I would lose consciousness, a small flicker of movement, a shadow in the corner of the room, gave me the chance to twist free. My eyes darted around, adrenaline surging. It was in that terrifying moment, suffocating under the weight of her anger, that I realized this wasn't just about me. This was about my father's multi-billion-dollar empire, and she would do anything to make sure her own children inherited it. But before I could even breathe properly, I had to remember how it all began. I still remember that hot Saturday afternoon in Lagos like it happened 5 minutes ago. The sun outside was so bright that the curtains in my room glowed faint yellow, and the air smelled of dust and heat. I had just taken my bath after helping the house staff arrange some of my late father's documents in his study. My head was heavy, and my heart was even heavier. 2 weeks after I lost my mother, everything in my life felt strange, empty, and broken. The world was still moving fast, but inside me, everything was slow, cold, and quiet. My mother was the only person who ever truly saw me, really saw me, and now she was gone. That afternoon, I didn't even plan to sleep. I only lay down for a moment to rest, but grief has a way of shutting your body down when your mind refuses to. And before I knew it, I drifted into a deep, painful sleep. I didn't hear the door open. I didn't hear the footsteps come in. I didn't feel anything until a strange weight settled on my belly. At first, I thought I was having a dream. You know those dreams where you want to move, but your body refuses to obey? That was exactly how it felt. My mind woke up, but my body was stuck between sleep and reality. Then I opened my eyes, and what I saw almost made my soul leave my body. Madame Kemi, my father's wife, was kneeling on top of me. Her dark, smooth skin was glowing under the bedside lamp. Her wine-colored short night robe clung to her body, and her neat bun sat perfectly on her head, as if she planned this moment carefully. Her knees pressed into the rumpled blue bedsheet, and her weight pinned me down. But that wasn't the part that shocked me. It was the look in her eyes. She wasn't the gentle, quiet stepmother who used to smile politely at my mother during Christmas dinners. Her face was twisted with anger, fear, and something else, something darker. She looked like a woman who had made a dangerous decision and had convinced herself she had no choice. And in her hands was a medium white pillow. Before I could even process what was happening, she pressed the pillow down toward my face and neck. At first, it didn't feel real. My brain couldn't connect the dots. Why would she be on top of me? Why would she be holding a pillow like that? Why was she pressing it on me? Then I heard her whisper, her voice trembling like it was carrying a big secret that had finally exploded. "Richard, why couldn't you just mind your own business?" Her voice broke in the middle of the sentence, and it made everything 10 times more frightening. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a mistake. She wasn't sleepwalking. She knew exactly what she was doing. My eyes widened as panic shot through my chest, like lightning. "Ma, Kemi, what are you doing?" I gasped. She pressed harder, not violently, but firmly enough to show she meant business. Her hands were shaking, but she didn't stop. I grabbed the pillow instinctively, fighting to push it away. "You should have let things go," she whispered. "You should have just stayed quiet. My sons deserve something too. Your father never planned for you to take everything." She wasn't shouting. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even breathing fast. She spoke like a woman who had fought with herself for too long and finally snapped. "But let me take you back a bit, just a little, so you understand why what she did made sense in her own twisted way. 3 days before this afternoon, I had discovered something nobody expected me to find. And if I had known it would lead to a pillow pressing into my neck, maybe I would have walked away from the truth. But you see, in my father's house, secrets behave like smoke. No matter how much you try to hide them, they find their way to the light. But that afternoon, that moment, it was the first time in my entire life that I saw pure desperation in a grown woman's eyes. Her lips trembled as she spoke again. I warned you, Richard. I warned you not to go into your father's office. You want to destroy everything for me and my boys. For what? Just because you're the first son. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. Her whole body trembled. I don't know where the sudden strength came from, but fear has a way of waking up muscles you didn't even know you had. I twisted my body, trying to slide my neck away from under the pillow, but because she was kneeling on my belly, her weight pinned me completely. The bed groaned under us. My heartbeat was loud, so loud I could hear it echoing inside my ears. Sweat dripped down the side of my face. My fingers clawed against the pillow, but her grip was tight. Kemi, stop, I cried. I'm not fighting you, please. Her tears suddenly dropped onto the pillow. Your father promised to take care of my boys, she whispered. He promised me. He stood in this same house and promised me. Her voice rose slightly. But you came back from school and everything changed. Then I realized something big. She wasn't doing this because she hated me. She was doing it because she was scared. Terrified. Afraid of the future. Afraid of poverty. Afraid her children would end up suffering while I enjoyed everything. Fear makes human beings do crazy things. But this fear, this one had grown teeth. I pushed harder, twisting my neck to the side. Air rushed into my lungs as part of my face escaped the pillow. Kemi, please, I begged. You don't have to do this. I'm not taking anything from your children. We can talk about it. She shook her head quickly, like a child refusing to listen. You think you can deceive me. You think I'm stupid. You think I didn't see the documents you took. I saw it, Richard. I saw everything. Documents? Yes. That was where everything started. But I didn't have time to think about that now. With a desperate move, I pushed my body sideways. The pillow slipped from one side of my face, and fresh air hit my skin like cold water. But she held onto the pillow with both hands and tried, pressing the edge of it down again. Her grip tightened. Her breath grew heavier. Her knees pressed into my stomach. And all I could see was fear, raw, infected fear, in her eyes. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed from outside the room. Something or someone slammed the front door downstairs. She froze. I mean, completely. Her hands stopped moving. Her eyes widened. Her mouth fell open in shock. For 1 second, for just one tiny second, she looked like a child caught stealing. Her entire body stiffened as she turned her head toward the door slowly, like she was afraid the sound came for her soul. That was when I realized we were no longer alone in the house. Something strange had entered. Or someone, because the way she reacted. The fear in her eyes. It wasn't fear of me. It wasn't fear of what she was doing. It was fear of something bigger. Then I heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Slow footsteps. Footsteps that sounded like they carried a message. Her entire body shook violently now. She pressed the pillow down lightly again, not to silence me, but to stop me from calling out. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide and terrified. Richard, don't make a sound, she whispered shakily. Please, I beg you, don't speak. This time, she wasn't angry. She wasn't desperate. She was scared for her life. But before I could ask why, before I could even move, The bedroom door slowly began to open. The golden lamp flickered. The shadow at the doorway grew larger. And what stepped into the room changed everything. The shadow at the doorway didn't move. It didn't speak. It just stood there, framed by the flickering golden lamp, a dark silhouette against the patterned curtains. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, echoing in my ears. Madame Kemi's hands froze on the pillow. Her knees stayed pressed into my stomach, but now her body trembled violently, not with anger, not with desperation, but with panic. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. My hands still gripped the pillow, keeping it between her and me, not out of aggression but instinct. My body was tense, ready to push her off if I had to. The shadow took a step forward, and suddenly I recognized the figure. It was Joshua, one of the house security guards. Dark-skinned, mid-30s, muscular, wearing the standard black uniform with the Lagos estate insignia. His eyes were wide, and his voice trembled slightly as he called out. Madam Kemi, I saw everything from the corridor." Her face went pale. She pressed the pillow down lightly, not to harm me, but as if she were trying to control the chaos her own fear had created. "Joshua, you shouldn't have come in," she whispered, her voice quivering. I sat up slowly, still catching my breath. My mind was spinning. My stepmother had tried to, whatever she intended, but the moment she saw Joshua, something inside her snapped. It wasn't just fear of being caught, it was fear of losing control. Joshua stepped closer, careful not to trip over the rumpled sheets. "Madam, sir, Richard, are you okay?" His eyes darted between us, unsure whether to intervene or just observe. Madame Kemi's lips moved, almost like she was about to explain something, but then she shook her head violently. No, it's nothing. Richard, you just go back to sleep." I swallowed hard. "Go back to sleep," I managed to say. "Do you realize what you just did, Ma, you?" She cut me off with a sharp gesture. "Quiet, don't say another word." Her voice cracked. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she seemed to collapse in on herself for a moment. Her anger and desperation melted into something else: confusion, fear, and shame. Joshua cleared his throat and took a small step closer. "Madam, I just came to check on the noise I heard. That's all." His eyes flicked to me again. "Sir, are you hurt?" I shook my head, still trying to process everything. My lungs heaved. My chest felt tight. My brain couldn't stop replaying the moment. The pillow, her weight on my belly, the anger in her eyes, and then that sudden fear when someone else arrived. "Richard, sit down," Madame Kemi said suddenly, her voice soft but commanding. She lowered her knees off me and moved to the side of the bed, wiping her tears with the edge of her robe. I didn't mean to, I just..." Her voice trailed off, broken and uncertain. I stayed quiet. I didn't trust her. I didn't know if she was apologetic or still plotting. Fear and disbelief made me frozen. My body still felt tense from the struggle. Joshua looked between us and finally broke the silence. "Sir, I think Madame Kemi she just lost control. Maybe she was scared, but you're fine, right?" I nodded slowly, still unsure what to say. My mind raced back to what she had whispered about my father's documents, about her sons, and about inheritance. Everything suddenly made sense in the most terrifying way. My stepmother had been planning something behind my back, and for a moment, the whole room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in with tension. Then Madame Kemi looked at me directly. Her eyes, once filled with rage, now held a strange pleading. "Richard, listen to me. You don't understand. I had no choice. My boys, they deserve something. Your father promised them I could." I could feel the heat rising in my chest. "No choice? Kemi, you tried to strangle me, on my bed, with a pillow. Do you realize what could have happened?" Her face crumpled as she sank to her knees beside the bed, burying her face in her hands. The wine-colored robe fell slightly, revealing the tension in her shoulders. For the first time, she looked like a woman broken by her own decisions. Joshua cleared his throat again. Maybe we all need to calm down. Madam, sir, let's not escalate this. Everyone can explain themselves." I finally released a slow breath, still sitting on the bed. My heart was still racing. My palms were sweaty. and the reality of what had almost happened started to hit me. My own stepmother, the woman who smiled politely during family dinners, had tried to. No, I couldn't even finish the thought. "Joshua, stay here," I said finally, my voice firm. "Make sure no one else comes into this room, and don't leave until I tell you." He nodded, still wide-eyed, and stepped closer to the door, almost as if guarding it with his life. Then I turned back to her. Madame Kemi was silent, still kneeling, still shaking. You need to tell me everything," I said, my voice low but sharp. "Why Kemi? Why my father's documents? Why my inheritance? Why this?" She lifted her head slowly, eyes filled with tears, lips quivering. "Richard, I only wanted to protect my children. I thought you would take everything, everything that belongs to them." I blinked, stunned. "Take everything? Kemi, my father never said that. You tried to." She flinched, and for a moment I saw a flash of the same anger from before, but now it was mixed with fear. I panicked. I saw what you were doing, going into the study, reading those papers, and I couldn't think straight. I leaned back against the headboard, my chest heaving. The room felt heavy. The golden lamp flickered again, throwing long shadows across her face. For the first time, I truly saw her, not as a stepmother, not as an enemy, but as a frightened human being caught between loyalty, greed, and fear. And I realized, at that exact moment, that nothing would ever be simple again. Because now, the real question wasn't just about inheritance. It wasn't about the pillow or the struggle. It was about who could be trusted in this house. And more importantly, who was plotting against me next. Before I could even ask another question, the bedroom door burst open. And standing there, with a smirk that chilled me to my bones, was her oldest son, my stepbrother Michael, dark-skinned. Tall, athletic, wearing a sharp designer shirt and jeans. He didn't rush in. He didn't speak. He just stood there, eyes locked on me, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. Madame Kemi froze. Joshua froze. I froze. And in that heartbeat, I realized this was far from over. Michael's eyes were cold, calculating, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just stood there, like a predator sizing up his prey. The faint golden glow from the bedside lamp reflected off his smooth, dark skin and sharp features, highlighting every line of arrogance and entitlement in his expression. Madame Kemi froze completely, her hands still trembling. The pillow had fallen to the side of the bed. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, and I could see sweat glistening along her temple. Joshua, the security guard, stepped back cautiously, unsure whether to intervene or let the family drama unfold. I pushed myself upright slowly, heart pounding. "Michael, what are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, though my body was shaking with a mixture of fear and anger. He smirked faintly, leaning casually against the doorway. "I came to check on the little drama," he said. "Seems like Ma got a little carried away." His eyes flicked toward my stepmother, who sank lower to the floor, still trying to compose herself. "Little drama, Michael, she tried to strangle me," I snapped, gesturing to the pillow on the bed. "Do you even understand what could have happened?" He chuckled softly, a sound that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Relax, Richard, it's just family business. You wouldn't understand. This house, this money, it's ours too, and Ma is just doing what she thinks is right." I felt my chest tighten. "Right, she tried to strangle me. How is that right?" Michael's smirk widened. "Look, I'm not saying it was the best way to handle things, but you've been treating this house like it belongs to you alone. Father's gone, and suddenly you think everything should just fall into your hands. You've got to learn, people don't just hand over billion-dollar empires to anyone, especially when there's a family to consider." I could barely believe what I was hearing. His tone was casual, like discussing the weather, while the reality was that my own stepbrother and stepmother had almost killed me in my sleep. I wanted to lash out, to push him, to scream, but the anger mixed with fear froze me. Madame Kemi spoke quietly, almost a whisper. "Michael, maybe we should leave him alone for now. He didn't mean anything. Her voice trailed off, and I could see her faltering between shame and fear again. Michael ignored her, his eyes locked on mine again, piercing, unyielding. Richard, you've been in this house too long, thinking you're the only one who matters. But your father, he loved all of us, and he would have wanted balance. You're not the only heir, not even close. I shook my head slowly, trying to process his words. Balance? He was talking about balance while my stepmother had just tried to kill me. Michael, this isn't balance. This is insanity. You can't just. He cut me off sharply. Insanity? Maybe, or maybe it's survival. This world, Lagos, life. If you don't fight for what belongs to you, someone else will. Joshua cleared his throat. Sir, maybe we should calm down. Everyone can talk this out carefully. I glared at him. Don't tell me to calm down. This isn't just some argument. They tried to. My words caught in my throat as Michael stepped closer, his smirk fading into something darker, more dangerous. I'm not here to fight you, Richard, he said quietly, almost too calmly. But make no mistake, I will do whatever it takes to claim what is ours. And Ma, she's not the only one who's willing to take action. I could feel the weight of those words pressing down on me, heavier than my stepmother's hands had ever been. Something in me shifted. Fear was still there, but it mingled with a sudden, sharp clarity. I couldn't trust anyone in this house anymore. Not Ma, not Michael, not even the people I thought were loyal. Madame Kemi finally spoke, her voice barely audible. Richard, I don't want this to go further. Please just, let's talk later. But I didn't believe her anymore. Not fully, not after what I had seen. Michael turned toward the door, giving one last look at me, as if to remind me that this was only the beginning. We'll see who really deserves to inherit this house, he said, his voice calm, almost chilling. Then he stepped out and closed the door behind him. The room fell silent. I sat on the bed, my hands gripping the pillow I had just been fighting under. The adrenaline began to fade, leaving a hollow ache in my chest. Joshua shifted uneasily, still standing by the door. Finally I spoke, my voice low and steady. Joshua, lock the doors, don't let anyone in, not even the staff. I need to figure out everything. Joshua nodded, clearly nervous, and went to do as I said. Meanwhile, I turned back to Madame Kemi. Her eyes were filled with tears again, and I realized something terrifying. The woman who had almost killed me wasn't fully in control of herself. Her fear, her desperation, her loyalty to her children, it all collided into a storm that could explode at any moment. I leaned back against the headboard thinking. The documents my father had left, the secrets I had discovered, they were bigger than I had imagined. And now, with Michael making his intentions clear and Madame Kemi's unstable, fear-driven actions, I understood one undeniable truth. My life, my inheritance, and my survival were all in danger. And then my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. It read, Richard, you have no idea what's coming. Be ready. I froze. Madame Kemi gasped softly. Joshua's eyes widened, and I realized with a shiver that this was just the beginning. Because someone else, someone I didn't know, was watching, waiting, and they were about to step into the storm that had already begun inside my own home. The text burned in my hand like fire. Richard, you have no idea what's coming. Be ready. My mind raced. Who could it be? Who knew about the struggle with Madame Kemi and Michael? The house was supposed to be secure. Only trusted staff had keys, and even then. Madame Kemi's sobs filled the room again, soft but frantic. She sank further to the side of the bed, her robe wrinkling as if her body carried the weight of every secret in the house. Richard, you shouldn't check that phone, whoever sent it, it's dangerous. I stared at her, my pulse still racing from the earlier confrontation. Dangerous? Ma, someone just threatened me, someone knows everything. Her hands shook as she covered her face. Richard, I didn't know, I swear I didn't know who sent it, but your father's enemies, they don't forget. And some people don't care about anyone, not even you. Her words sent a chill down my spine. I tried to breathe, tried to steady my shaking hands, but the adrenaline had worn me thin. I glanced toward Joshua, who was standing stiffly by the door. He looked like a man who had seen too much for one afternoon. Sir, do you want me to check the cameras? He asked quietly. Maybe we can see who was near your room before Michael came in." I nodded slowly. "Yes, do it." While Joshua went to the security panel, I turned my attention back to Madame Kemi. Her eyes were red, her face streaked with tears, but there was something else, a flash of calculation, maybe even guilt trying to hide behind fear. "Ma, I need the truth. Did you plan this with Michael?" Her head snapped up, and for a moment I saw the old fire in her eyes, but it quickly faded into desperation. No, I panicked. "Richard, I only wanted to scare you. I didn't mean to hurt you, not really. Michael, he thinks differently. He's dangerous." I felt a cold twist in my stomach. Dangerous. That word hung in the room like smoke. Dangerous, yes, but also smart, calculating. He had watched me, assessed me, and now he was ready to act. Joshua's voice broke the tension. "Sir, cameras show Michael left the main hall about 30 minutes ago. No one else entered after that, but the corridor cameras show a car, black SUV, parked outside the gate. It's still there." I froze, my pulse jumped again. Another player, someone waiting, someone watching. Madame Kemi's voice trembled. "Richard, whoever that is, they're dangerous. They could ruin everything." I swallowed hard. My fingers tightened around the blue bedsheet. My mind spun. If Michael was plotting against me, and now an unknown observer was outside, this house, my inheritance, my life, nothing was safe anymore. Then the phone buzzed again. Another message. "Step carefully, Richard. One wrong move, and everything your father built will be gone." I dropped the phone onto the bed, my heart hammering. Madame Kemi flinched. See, she whispered. "I told you you're in danger. You have no idea what's coming, and if he knows." Before she could finish, the bedroom door clicked. Slowly, quietly, too quietly. We all froze. Joshua moved instinctively toward the door, but I raised my hand. Something told me this wasn't Michael, not yet. A shadow fell across the doorway, then stepped into the room. A tall figure, wearing a dark hoodie, face partially hidden. My stomach sank. Who was this? "Richard," the figure said calmly, almost chillingly, "I'm here to help, but only if you trust me." Madame Kemi gasped, taking a step back. Joshua tensed, hand hovering near his belt. I stared at the stranger. My mind screamed, do I trust this person, or is this another threat, another trap? The figure raised a hand slowly, showing no weapon. "I know about Michael, I know what your stepmother tried, and I know about the inheritance. You need a plan, and you need it fast." I took a step forward, my voice low but firm. Who are you? How do you know all this?" The stranger smiled faintly under the hood. "Call me Samuel, I've been watching. And believe me, what's about to happen in this house will change everything. If you're not ready, you won't survive." Madame Kemi's knees buckled slightly, and she grabbed the edge of the bed for support. Her eyes darted between Samuel and me, fear and guilt written all over her face. I clenched my fists. "Samuel, if what you say is true, then tell me everything, now." He stepped fully into the room, the lamplight casting long shadows across his face. "Michael is not the only one plotting. There are people outside, waiting, watching, and your father's documents, they are the key. Whoever controls them will control everything. You must act fast." My blood ran cold. The house I thought I understood, the inheritance I thought I could claim, nothing was safe anymore. Then I realized something terrifying. Michael's words from yesterday, the threat in the text messages, everything was connected. Someone had been planning this for months. Someone had been waiting for my mother to die, for my father's death, for me to be vulnerable. And now, with Samuel in the room, I understood one undeniable truth. The real battle for my life, my inheritance, and my father's empire was only just beginning. Before I could ask another question, the sound of tires screeching outside the gate shattered the tense silence. A black SUV had started moving. Someone was leaving or coming in. Madame Kemi's eyes went wide. "Richard, it's them, they're here." I rose slowly from the bed, feeling every ounce of fear, anger, and adrenaline coursing through me. My hands were trembling, but my mind was sharp. I had to act. And I had to survive. Because in this house, in this city, in this family, no one could be trusted. And whoever was behind that SUV, they weren't going to wait. The sound of the SUV tires screeching outside still echoed in my ears, blending with my heartbeat and the heavy hum of the golden lamp. Samuel stood silently near the bed, his dark eyes fixed on me, calm yet intense, like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Madame Kemi's trembling had worsened, her fingers clutching the edge of the bed as though it could hold her steady. Joshua glanced toward the window, squinting through the patterned curtains. "Sir, the vehicle's gone. Whoever it was, they left fast." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to make sense of everything. Michael's threat, the text messages, the SUV outside, Samuel's sudden appearance. "This isn't random," I muttered. "Everything happening now, it's coordinated." Samuel nodded. "Exactly. Michael isn't acting alone. He has connections. He has people working for him, watching, waiting. Your stepmother's panic, that pillow, it wasn't just a moment of weakness. It was part of a plan to destabilize you." Madame Kemi flinched at the words, her eyes darting between me and Samuel. I didn't know. I only wanted to protect my children," she whispered, her voice shaking. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "Protect your children by trying to strangle me, by putting me in danger while I was sleeping." Her tears fell freely. "Richard," I panicked. "I thought if you kept the documents, if you tried to claim the property, my sons would lose everything. I couldn't think straight." I stared at her, feeling the anger rising again, but now mixed with a chilling understanding. Fear had pushed her to the edge, and now Michael, emboldened, was ready to act. Samuel stepped forward. "Richard, listen carefully. You need a plan. Michael's next move will come sooner than you think. He'll try to control the house, the staff, and your father's empire. You can't underestimate him." I swallowed hard. "And the documents, everything Dad left, Michael could use them against me, right?" "Yes," Samuel said firmly. "Those papers are more than inheritance, they're leverage. And whoever holds them has power over the entire estate, the companies, and even some of your father's secret investments." I clenched my fists, the anger and fear mixing into a sharp resolve. "Then we need to secure them, and I need to find out who else is involved before it's too late." Madame Kemi's voice broke the tense silence again. "Richard, I can help. I know things Michael doesn't know. I can tell you where he's hidden some of the accounts, some of the papers, but you have to promise me I can't go back to him, I can't." I studied her carefully, weighing the sincerity in her voice against the fear I had just seen in her eyes. Could I trust her? Samuel's gaze met mine, silent but full of warning. I nodded slowly. "All right, for now we'll work together, but one wrong move, Kemi, and I won't hesitate. Understand?" She nodded, tears falling freely. "I understand, Richard. I just want them safe. My sons, they're all I have." Joshua, sensing the tension, spoke again. "Sir, we need to act fast. Michael could make his move at any second, and if he has people outside, we could be surrounded before we even start." I looked out the window at the sprawling Lagos streets below, the city buzzing, unaware of the storm brewing in this mansion. The estate felt suddenly smaller, tighter, and more dangerous than ever. I turned back to Samuel. "Then let's start. Tell me exactly what I need to do to protect the documents and find out who else is involved. We don't have much time." Samuel nodded. "First, we need to move the papers. Second, you need to know Michael's allies, who in the house is loyal to him, who is loyal to you, and who can't be trusted. Third," his voice lowered, "someone outside this estate is playing a bigger game. You need to be prepared for anything." I felt the weight of his words settle heavily on my shoulders. This wasn't just about my inheritance anymore. It wasn't just about Michael or my stepmother. There was a larger force at play, watching us, waiting for a mistake. Madame Kemi shivered. "Richard, please be careful. I'm scared. I never wanted this to happen, I cut her off gently but firmly. "I know, Ma, but fear doesn't stop the world. It only slows you down. And right now, we don't have the luxury of slowing down." Samuel stepped closer, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk. "Richard, Your first move is to secure your father's documents tonight. No one else can know where they are until we understand the full scope of the threat. Michael's men, and whoever sent those texts, they're already in motion. Joshua shifted uneasily. Sir, should we call the police? I shook my head. No, not yet. If Michael or anyone else has eyes and ears in this house, the moment the police get involved, they'll know we need discretion, precision, strategy. Madam Kemi flinched again. Richard, what if Michael finds out I helped you? I met her gaze. Then we deal with it. But right now, helping me is the only way to survive, the only way to keep the estate safe, and maybe, just maybe, the only way to protect your children too. Her lips trembled. She nodded once sharply. I'll help, just don't let him see me. I clenched my fists, determination coiling inside me like a spring. Good, then let's move. We don't have a second to waste. Outside, the city of Lagos continued its noisy rhythm. But inside the mansion, a storm had begun, a storm of fear, betrayal, and power. And I knew, deep in my heart, that Michael's next move would come faster than any of us expected. Because in this house, trust was a weapon and betrayal was everywhere. And the battle for my father's empire had only just begun. The mansion was quiet, almost eerily so, but the silence was heavy with anticipation. Every creak of the floor, every distant honk from the Lagos streets outside felt amplified. My mind raced, but I forced myself to focus. Samuel and I moved quickly through the study, carefully gathering my father's documents and secret ledgers. Madam Kemi trailed behind us, wringing her hands nervously, her robe shifting as she moved. She kept glancing over her shoulder as if expecting Michael, or someone worse, to appear at any moment. Richard, please be careful if he finds out. I know, Ma, I whispered sharply, trying to keep my own panic under control. That's why we have to be smart. No mistakes, no noise, no attention. Samuel nodded. Exactly. And remember, Richard, Michael doesn't just rely on force. He's manipulative. He'll use anyone he can, even the staff, to get to what he wants. You can't trust anyone fully yet. I swallowed hard. Fear clung to me like a second skin. But beneath it, a fire had started, anger, determination, and the need for survival. My father's legacy, everything he had built, was at stake, and I wasn't about to let Michael or anyone else steal it. We reached the hidden cabinet in the study, the one only Dad, I, and a few trusted staff knew about. I opened it carefully. The documents were there, contracts, company records, secret investments, and most importantly, the papers Michael could use as leverage. I carefully stacked them into a leather briefcase, checking each folder twice. Samuel watched, his eyes scanning the room as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. Madam Kemi hovered behind, still trembling. I never should have been involved in this, she whispered. I almost ruined everything. I didn't reply. Words wouldn't fix it. Only action could. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the hallway. Glass shattered. Footsteps pounded closer. My heart jumped. Michael, I hissed. Madam Kemi froze, her face pale. He's here, he's coming. Joshua moved swiftly to block the door, but Michael appeared first, his silhouette dark against the hallway light. His tall frame, confident stance, and smirk made him look unstoppable. Well, what do we have here? He said, his voice smooth, almost casual, as if nothing could touch him. I tightened my grip on the briefcase, backing toward the corner. Michael, stay away from me. You've done enough. He laughed softly, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. Done enough? Richard, I've barely started. Do you really think your little alliance with Samuel and Ma can stop me? Madam Kemi gasped. Michael, don't, please stop this. He ignored her, stepping closer. Hand over the documents, Richard, all of them. You think you can outsmart me, outplay me? You're in my house, and you've been nothing but a thorn in my side. Samuel stepped forward. Not this time, Michael. You don't get what you want so easily. Michael's eyes narrowed. Samuel, I didn't expect you here, but it doesn't matter. I'll deal with you too. Joshua moved instinctively to position himself between Michael and me. Sir, step back. Don't get in his way. Michael smirked and flicked his hand toward Joshua, who froze, unsure what to do. I realized then that this wasn't going to be a normal confrontation. Michael wasn't just here to talk. He was testing boundaries, pushing fear, and gauging reactions. I took a deep breath, my mind racing for a plan. Michael, this isn't just about the documents. It's about your father's legacy, about the empire. If you touch them without understanding the consequences, you'll ruin everything you think you want. He chuckled darkly. I don't care about consequences, Richard. I want what's mine, and Ma has been helping me all along. Madame Kemi flinched violently. No, he's twisting everything, I never. Michael's smile widened. You see, Richard, everyone has their role. Fear, loyalty, manipulation, they all work for me, and now it's my turn to claim what should be mine. Suddenly, the front door slammed open. Another shadow appeared in the hallway, one of the mysterious figures hinted at in the texts. Tall, masked, moving quickly. Michael froze for just a moment, a flicker of caution crossing his face. Samuel grabbed my arm. Richard, get ready. This just became bigger than Michael. He has reinforcements, and they're here to escalate things. Now we act. The room tensed. Madame Kemi pressed herself against the wall, her eyes wide, trembling. Michael clenched his fists, calculating, and I felt my pulse surge, adrenaline sharpening my focus. The first move had to be precise. One wrong step, and everything, my life, the documents, my father's empire, would be lost. And I realized with chilling clarity, the battle for survival had officially begun inside my own home. Outside, the sounds of tires, footsteps, and the distant city of Lagos continued, unaware that inside this mansion, a war for billions, loyalty, and revenge was exploding, one that would change everything. The air inside the mansion had turned electric. Every heartbeat, every whisper, every creak of the floor sounded like a countdown to disaster. I held the leather briefcase tightly, feeling the weight of my father's empire in my hands. Madame Kemi trembled behind me, her eyes darting to the doorway where Michael and the shadowy figure had paused, calculating their next move. Samuel's gaze was sharp, scanning the room. Richard, you have one chance. Move now or Michael takes everything. I nodded, swallowing the fear and adrenaline coiling through me. Joshua, block the hallway. Don't let anyone else in. Now. Joshua bolted to the doorway, his frame rigid and ready. The masked figure froze for a moment, assessing the security guard, but didn't move forward. Michael, however, took a step closer, his smirk tight. Richard, you think you can hide behind him? It's your turn to lose. I took a deep breath. Michael, this isn't just about winning or losing. This is about survival, and if you think threatening me will get you the documents, you're wrong. Samuel stepped forward, positioning himself beside me. Richard, on my mark. The masked figure lunged suddenly toward Joshua, but Samuel reacted instantly, grabbing the intruder by the wrist and twisting him to the ground. A loud thud echoed through the study. Madame Kemi gasped, clutching the bedpost as if it could anchor her to safety. Michael's eyes narrowed. You brought a friend, Samuel. I didn't think you'd dare. Samuel's jaw tightened. I'm not here to play games. Step back, Michael, now. Michael's smirk faltered for a moment. He glanced at his mother, who shrank back against the wall. For the first time, I saw hesitation in his movements. You would, he muttered. I would, I said firmly, stepping forward. And I will, because if I don't, you take everything, and I won't let that happen. Madame Kemi's voice trembled. Richard, be careful, he's dangerous, more than you know. I glanced at her, and in that instant, I realized something terrifying. Her fear wasn't just for me, it was for herself, for Michael, and for the empire my father had built. She had been part of the plan, yes, but now she was part of the solution too. The masked figure struggled under Samuel's grip, letting out a muffled shout. Michael's smirk returned, darker now, more dangerous. Richard, you think you've won? This is only the beginning. My people, they're everywhere. You can't hide, you can't escape. This house, your life, none of it belongs to you anymore. I tightened my hold on the briefcase. Then let's see about that. Samuel shoved the masked figure toward the hallway, giving us a clear path. Move, Richard, go now. Secure the documents where no one can touch them. I nodded, my palms sweating but my mind razor-sharp. I moved quickly to the hidden safe behind the painting in my father's study. Each step felt like walking a tightrope. One misstep, and Michael or his reinforcements could reach me. Michael's voice followed me. Richard, remember you can't trust anyone, not even her. Madame Kemi flinched at the words but stayed silent. She knew the truth of Michael's threat. I reached the safe and opened it. Carefully, I placed the documents inside. The lock clicked into place with a satisfying finality. Samuel stepped beside me, his eyes scanning the room again. Good. Now you need to make it look like the documents are still here, but in reality, only we know the truth. I nodded, understanding immediately. Right, we'll create a deco. Samuel moved swiftly, grabbing a few old files and scattering them across the desk. The plan was simple, but it had to work. Michael needed to believe the documents were still here, or he would escalate. Michael and the masked figure were moving closer again, their shadows flickering under the golden lamplight. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. Then Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced down, his smirk faltering again. What is this?" he muttered, eyes narrowing. I felt my heart race. Could it be another player entering the game? Another twist I hadn't anticipated. Samuel whispered, "Richard, stay calm. This could work in our favor." Michael's eyes lifted, and I realized he was now more uncertain than confident. His calculated arrogance had faltered, if only slightly. That split second of doubt was all I needed. I turned to Madame Kemi. "Ma, stay here, do exactly as I say. Joshua, block the door, no exceptions. Samuel, cover me, let's finish this." The room fell silent, but the storm outside, the black SUV, the unseen watchers, Michael's reinforcements, was still looming. And in that silence, I felt it. The first real surge of control, the first taste of power since my mother's death. But I also knew this was far from over. Because in this house, in this city, in this family, every move would be a battle, and every battle could change everything. The mansion felt smaller now, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Every creak of the polished floorboards, every muted tick of the golden clock on the study wall felt magnified. Michael's presence lingered like a shadow, even though he wasn't in the room anymore. His threats, his arrogance, and his reinforcements waiting outside had set a trap I couldn't yet see in full. Samuel leaned close, whispering sharply, "Richard, the decoy has to work perfectly. If Michael suspects anything, he'll strike immediately." I nodded, carefully adjusting the scattered old files on the desk to make them look like the real documents. My hands shook slightly, but my mind was razor-sharp. Every second mattered now. Madame Kemi stood behind me, hands clenched, her eyes darting nervously toward the doorway. "Richard, what if he finds out? What if they come in now?" I turned to her, trying to keep my voice steady, though the tension was thick enough to choke on. "Ma, stay calm. We stick to the plan. One mistake, one slip, and everything is lost. Understand?" She nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I understand." Suddenly, the sound of tires skidding outside the main gate echoed through the mansion. My pulse jumped. Samuel's eyes narrowed. "They're moving, now." Joshua moved immediately to the door, hand hovering near the lock. "Sir, Michael's men, they're approaching fast. Should I?" "No," I interrupted. "We stay inside. The trap works best if they come here, thinking the documents are in the safe." A loud knock reverberated through the study, 3 rapid, sharp knocks, deliberate and commanding. The door rattled under the pressure. Michael's voice called out, calm but dripping with menace. "Richard, I know you're in there. Hand over the documents. Stop hiding." I swallowed, feeling the heat of tension rising. Samuel placed a hand on my shoulder. "Richard, trust me, they'll fall for it." I nodded subtly, though my chest pounded. "All right, let's see if Michael's arrogance will be his downfall." Joshua opened the door slightly, just enough to speak, his voice firm. "So Michael, Richard's not here, Documents safe, just stay back. Michael's laugh carried through the hallway, a cold, calculated sound. Oh, Joshua, you always were loyal, weren't you? But loyalty can't protect him forever. The door burst open suddenly, and Michael strode in with two of his men, dark-skinned, tall, muscular. They moved with precision, scanning every corner, every shelf, every shadow. Their eyes landed on the desk. "Ah, so this is it," Michael said, smirking. "Looks like we're too late." Samuel stepped forward, his voice steady but commanding. "Michael, I suggest you leave now. You're risking everything by being here." Michael's smirk widened. "Samuel, always the protector. But it's funny, you think a few distractions can stop me. The documents are mine. They were always meant to be mine." I took a deep breath. "Michael, you're wrong. They belong to my father, and my father trusted me to protect them, and I will." Michael's gaze darkened. "Brave words, but words won't save you when the time comes." Joshua's hand hovered over his belt, tension radiating. Madame Kemi pressed against the wall, wide-eyed, terrified. The room felt like a pressure cooker. Then a sudden distraction. From the hallway, a loud crash. Someone had thrown a heavy vase from the upstairs corridor. The sound shattered the fragile tension. Michael's men instinctively moved to investigate, giving Samuel the split second we needed. Samuel grabbed my arm. "Richard, now, move the real documents." I dashed toward the hidden compartment behind the painting, quickly slipping the briefcase inside. My heart hammered. Michael turned back, suspicion flickering across his face. "What, where?" he demanded, advancing toward the desk. Samuel held him at bay with a calm, measured voice. "Look closer, Michael. The documents you want, they're right here, or are they?" Michael's eyes narrowed, scanning the scattered files. He reached for them, his fingers brushing the decoy folders. A moment of frustration crossed his face. You're hiding them." Samuel smirked slightly. "Clever, isn't it? Looks real, feels real, but the real power is elsewhere." Michael's jaw clenched. He turned, scanning the room for signs of deception. "Richard, don't think this is over. You'll regret this. I'll find them, and when I do." A sudden knock at the front door interrupted him. Both of us froze. Michael's eyes flicked toward the hallway, and his expression darkened. Whoever had come, they weren't part of his plan. I realized immediately. The mysterious texts, the black SUV, the unknown threat. They were about to step into the chaos we had created inside the mansion. Madame Kemi's hands shook as she whispered, "Richard, it's coming, it's happening." And at that moment, the tension exploded. Michael lunged toward the desk, Samuel stepped in to block him, and the first real confrontation of wills and power had begun. Outside, the city of Lagos hummed along, oblivious to the storm inside the billionaire estate. But inside, betrayal, revenge, and the fight for survival had reached its boiling point. And I knew the real battle was only just starting. The mansion shook with tension. Michael's sudden lunge toward the desk sent the decoy folders flying, pages rustling like whispers of warning. Samuel's hand shot out, intercepting him, pushing him back just enough to prevent disaster. "Step back, Michael," Samuel barked, his voice low and commanding, filled with authority that even Michael seemed to hesitate against. Michael's eyes burned with fury, the smirk replaced by pure rage. "You think this is over? You think this little trick can stop me? Richard, you'll regret this." I clutched the leather briefcase hidden behind the painting, sweat dripping down my face. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I glanced at Madame Kemi, who had pressed herself against the wall, trembling, her robe wrinkled, eyes wide. "Richard, they're going to." Before she could finish, the front gate's massive iron bars clanged, tires screeched. The black SUV from before slammed to a stop. Headlights flooded the driveway, casting long shadows into the mansion's grand hallway. Joshua moved immediately to the front, his muscles tensed. "Sir, more people, they're outside. They're coming in." Michael's expression darkened. "I didn't expect reinforcements. Interesting." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "Richard, that SUV, whoever's there isn't on Michael's side, but they're unpredictable. This could help, or it could make things worse." I clenched my fists. I had no choice. The moment had come to act decisively. Samuel, distract Michael. I'll deal with the next move. Samuel stepped forward, blocking Michael, his tone calm but sharp. Michael, you're overestimating yourself. Step back. Your plan is crumbling. Michael snarled but hesitated, momentarily distracted by the sudden commotion outside. That's when it happened. The front door burst open. A tall, masked figure, different from the one we had seen before, stormed in, moving with speed and precision. Two others followed closely, their faces partially hidden. Michael froze, caught off guard for the first time. "Who are they?" Madame Kemi whispered, clutching the bedpost. "Guests or threats," Samuel muttered under his breath. "Either way, this is our chance." The masked figures advanced toward Michael and his men. Confusion erupted instantly. Michael tried to command his reinforcements, but the newcomers were faster, smarter. They disarmed one of Michael's men with shocking efficiency, and the room erupted into chaos. I seized the moment. Sprinting toward the hidden compartment, I grabbed the briefcase containing the real documents and ran toward the side staircase, Samuel covering my back. Michael's voice echoed after me, furious. "Richard, you'll pay for this. You can't escape." Adrenaline surged as I bolted through the mansion, every corner, every shadow now a potential threat. My father's documents, the empire, my life, all balanced on the edge of my decisions. Upstairs, I paused for a brief second to catch my breath, hearing the scuffle below. Samuel had managed to hold Michael and his men off for now. I could hear Madame Kemi's shaky voice calling out, "Richard, be careful." I pushed open the small hidden service door leading to the rooftop terrace, a shortcut I had used with my father once, long ago. The cool Lagos wind hit my face, and for a moment, the chaos below seemed distant. But it was. Michael's rage, the masked figures, the SUV outside, it was all still very much alive, very much dangerous. A sudden voice whispered from behind the terrace, "Richard, this way, quick." I turned sharply. Samuel had joined me, motioning to a secondary escape route through the adjoining building's rooftop. "We have limited time. Michael's men are regrouping. If they spot you, it's over." I nodded, gripping the briefcase tightly. My pulse was racing, every muscle tense. "Where's Madame Kemi?" "She's safe for now, but she can't stay long. Michael's attention is shifting, and if he realizes the documents are gone, he'll be relentless." I glanced back at the mansion, the chaos spilling into the night. The golden lights of Lagos shimmered in the distance, oblivious to the battle unfolding within the billionaire estate. Michael's voice rang out sharper than ever. "Richard, you think you can run? You can't hide. I will find you, and when I do." Samuel grabbed my shoulder. "We move, no hesitation, one wrong step, and he'll take everything." I exhaled sharply, my body trembling with fear and determination. My father's empire, my inheritance, my survival, all rested on the next move. We sprinted across the rooftops, leaping gaps and ducking under low terraces, hearts pounding, the city lights blurring past us. Behind, Michael's shouts and the chaos inside the mansion were a constant reminder. The enemy was relentless, clever, and ruthless. And then, the unthinkable happened. From across the rooftops, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. Another figure, unmasked this time, stepped into the light. A familiar face, someone I never expected to see in this war. "Richard, it's time we settle this. No more running." My breath caught, my pulse jumped. Samuel stiffened beside me. The rooftop suddenly felt smaller, tighter, as if the city itself was pressing in. The final battle, for the documents, the empire, and my survival, was about to begin. The city lights of Lagos glimmered beneath us, a sprawling, indifferent sea of gold and silver, oblivious to the war raging above. My chest heaved with exhaustion and adrenaline. The leather briefcase, the one that held everything my father had built, was clutched tightly in my hands. Samuel moved beside me, silent but vigilant, scanning the rooftop edges. And then I saw him, Michael. His silhouette emerged from the darkness, his figure larger than life, framed against the glowing city skyline, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. "Richard, You think you can run from me? From me, this ends now. I planted my feet firmly, gripping the briefcase tighter. It ends when I say it ends, Michael, not when you decide. Behind him, two of his reinforcements were advancing, their hands clutching weapons. Samuel tightened his jaw. Richard, stay behind me. One wrong move and... I'm ready, I interrupted. Fear had shifted into something sharper, colder, resolve. The betrayal, the near-death struggles, the endless lies from Madame Kemi and Michael, it all fueled me. Michael's smirk flickered. You think you can defeat me with tricks and distractions? I've been planning this, everything, for years. Planning isn't enough, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline hammering in my veins. You underestimated me. You thought I'd be weak after my mother died, that your stepmother could manipulate me, but you forgot one thing, I am my father's son. Michael's eyes widened, a fraction of uncertainty crossing his face, but it didn't last. Rage returned. Enough words, give me the documents, Richard, now. I shook my head, never. With that, Samuel sprang into action, his movements precise and deadly, disarming Michael's men one by one. They stumbled, shocked at his speed and control. Michael cursed, advancing on me, but I was ready. I dashed toward the rooftop edge, luring him into the narrow path. Richard, wait, Madame Kemi's voice rang out from below. She had followed us, trembling but determined. Don't, you'll fall. I ignored the warning. This was the final moment, the moment to end the nightmare that had haunted me since my mother's death, the moment to reclaim what was mine. Michael lunged at me. I sidestepped, grabbing the briefcase tightly, and a sharp struggle ensued. His hands clawed at the leather, but I held firm. Samuel moved swiftly behind him, delivering a decisive blow that sent Michael sprawling toward the rooftop railing. Time slowed. Michael teetered on the edge, his face twisted with fury and fear. He looked at me as if searching for mercy, but there was none. You betrayed everyone, Michael, I said quietly, my voice hard. And this is the cost of betrayal. With one final push, careful, controlled, I sent him stumbling backward. He grabbed the railing, but it gave way. He fell. For a heart-stopping moment, I thought he might survive, but the dark waters below swallowed him entirely. Silence fell. Madame Kemi gasped. Richard, you did it. I turned to her, my face hard, controlled. I survived, Ma, and everything he tried to take is safe now. The Empire, the documents, your children are safe too, but only because I didn't trust him and I didn't rely on anyone who was loyal to him. Samuel approached, his expression unreadable but approving. It's over for now, but remember, Richard, in a place like this, trust is rare, protect what's yours. I exhaled, finally allowing myself a moment to feel the weight of victory. The rooftop was quiet now, the chaos below contained, the storm of betrayal ended, at least for today. Madame Kemi approached, hands trembling. Richard, I never should have. I shook my head. Ma, you can't undo the past, but you can help fix the future. And right now, the future belongs to the people who fight for it. I looked out over Lagos, the city sprawling endlessly, full of light and darkness, hope and danger. My father's empire was mine to protect. Michael's betrayal had been avenged, and the lessons of trust, courage, and cunning had been carved into my soul. For the first time since my mother's death, I felt a strange calm, a sense of power tempered with responsibility. The mansion behind me still held memories of fear, betrayal, and desperate struggles, but forward was mine. And I knew one undeniable truth. In a world of betrayal, revenge, and power, the only way to survive was to be smarter, stronger, and braver than everyone else. Because in Lagos, in this family, in this life, redemption is earned, not given. And today, I had earned mine.